Football isn't just a game, it's a story, a tradition, and a way for communities to connect and endure. The deep connections felt between clubs and their communities means football can often mean far more than 3 points, bragging rights, or cup glory. Sometimes this passion can boil over, with consequences that extend far beyond the terraces. On May 13, 1990, Dinamo Zagreb faced Red Star Belgrade in what many now see as more than a football match. It was a microcosm of a country on the brink, and many view the events that blew up that day as having changed, or at least accelerated, the course of history. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe, and leave suggestions for future video topics in the comments. Thank you. After the collapse of the Austro-Hungarian Empire in World War I, the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes was born to unite the South Slavic peoples under King Peter I of Serbia. Later renamed the Kingdom of Yugoslavia, the country was a patchwork of nations, religions and languages stitched together with hope and a fair amount of tension. After almost 30 years in relative peace, World War II tore the Balkans apart again, with civil war, Nazi occupation and brutal campaigns by local fascist and communist forces destabilising the region. But after the war, a new leader emerged, Josip Broz Tito, a partisan hero who managed to do what some had thought impossible, hold Yugoslavia together. Under Tito's rule, Yugoslavia became a socialist federation made up of 6 republics: Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, Montenegro and Macedonia, with 2 autonomous provinces within Serbia, Kosovo and Vojvodina. This restructure was an attempt to ensure the diverse interests of groups within the federation were better represented within governance. Yugoslavia was socialist but not Soviet. It was diverse yet stable, at least on the surface, for over 20 years after the war. But when Tito died in 1980, the glue began to come undone. By the late 1980s, economic crisis had gripped the country, inflation skyrocketed, wages dropped, ethnic and regional rivalries, once suppressed by Tito's authority, had begun to surface. Each republic had its own identity, its own history, its own football teams, and now, without Tito, the old tensions were back, and the seeds of future conflict were starting to emerge. The Yugoslav First League was formed in line with the new Socialist Republic of Yugoslavia in 1946 and consisted of football teams from across the 6 republics and 2 provinces. During its peak, the league was considered one of Europe's strongest, with Yugoslav football becoming synonymous with technical skill, flair and creativity. But the football wasn't just stylish, it was effective. Red Star Belgrade regularly competed at Europe's top table, reaching the semi-final of the European Cup twice and even winning it in 1991. Other notable late tournament runs from Hajduk Split, Dinamo Zagreb and Partizan Belgrade in the Cup Winners' Cup and UEFA Cup rendered Yugoslavian teams forces to be reckoned with. The league's diverse nature meant football was often viewed as a unifying force in the country, though, as the title of this video might suggest, this was not always the case. As the ultra scene began to rise across Western Europe in the 1970s and 80s, Yugoslavian football fans decided they wanted a piece of the action. They wanted to organise and ensure the interests of their communities were being represented throughout their clubs, and especially on the terraces. 2 notable examples include Dinamo Zagreb's Bad Blue Boys from the capital of the Croatian Republic, whose members were heavily aligned with Croatian nationalist and anti-Yugoslav sentiments, and Red Star Belgrade's Delia, meaning brave ones or heroes in Serbian, led by Željko Arkan Ražnatović, who represented pan-Serbian nationalism and believed strongly in the notion of a united Yugoslavia with Belgrade at its heart. As these groups developed, their teams established themselves as 2 of Yugoslavia's strongest, and their diverging interests meant a rivalry between them became inevitable. Throughout the 80s, matches between the 2 became increasingly volatile, with the football teams going toe-to-toe on the pitch and the ultras groups using the matches as an opportunity to push their political agendas. Slurs, scuffles and vandalism became commonplace, and the tension continued to build until certain political events caused it to eventually spill over in 1990. Just weeks before the next instalment of Yugoslavia's biggest derby, the Socialist Republic of Croatia held its first multi-party elections separate to that of the wider Yugoslav Federation in nearly 50 years. Franjo Tuđman's Croatian Democratic Union won a mandate for independence, sending shockwaves through Belgrade and Zagreb, and heaping coal onto the fire ahead of Dinamo and Red Star's already fierce rivalry. As May arrived, there came the next instalment of the Dinamo Red Star derby. The match was scheduled to take place at Zagreb's Maksimir Stadium, with around 15,000 to 20,000 spectators expected, including 3,000 Delia fans. On the day, there were skirmishes in the streets of Zagreb, with fans of both clubs clashing as they had in previous years, but recent events meaning this time there was more on the line. In the hours prior to kick-off, Red Star's Delia, heavily barricaded in by riot police, began chanting provocative nationalist slogans like "Zagreb is Serbia" and "We'll kill Tuđman." Unsurprisingly, Dinamo's Bad Blue Boys didn't feel like standing around and listening. They stormed the pitch and headed towards the Delia end of the ground, before they were intercepted by police. Clashes between the fans and police ensued on the pitch, preventing kick-off, with Red Star players retreating to the changing rooms and Dinamo players staying out and absorbing the carnage. Riot police responded with water cannons, tear gas and armoured vehicles, and the violence lasted for over an hour, with dozens injured and over 100 detained. Many Croats felt the police were treating the Bad Blue Boys with greater force than their opposition, and so, rather than standing and watching, Dinamo captain Zvonimir Boban decided to get himself involved, launching a flying kick at a policeman who was mid-altercation with a Dinamo fan. The moment became an instant symbol of Croatian resistance and has remained so to this day. Boban later spoke on the moment, saying, "Here I was, a public face prepared to risk my life, career and everything that fame could have brought, all because of one ideal, one cause, the Croatian cause." The extent of the violence meant the game could never kick off. The match, along with the hopes of reconciling Serbs and Croats under the Yugoslavia banner, was abandoned. What happened that day was no longer a football rivalry. It was an ideological, national and ethnic one, and many view the events at the Maksimir Stadium as a significant turning point in the fate of Yugoslavia. In the weeks, months and years that followed, everything would change for those living in Yugoslavia. In June 1991, just over a year after the derby that never was, Croatia declared independence from Yugoslavia, and war broke out. Fighting erupted between Croatian forces and the Yugoslav People's Army, which was dominated by Serb leadership. Many members of Red Star's Delia joined the Serbian Volunteer Guard, also known as Arkan's Tigers, named after Delia's own Arkan Raznatovic. The group became a notorious paramilitary force that was active across the Balkans throughout the 90s. As for Dinamo's Bad Blue Boys, their efforts in the riot rendered them defenders of the nation in the eyes of many Croats, and they would go on to erect a monument outside the Maksimir, which reads, "To all Dinamo fans for whom the war started on May 13, 1990. This cemented the riot as part of Croatian national identity, and every May the 13th they commemorate it. Only a year earlier, many viewed the riot at the Maksimir merely as out-of-control football hooliganism. But now, with hindsight, it was evidently a dark foreshadowing of what would become a far more destructive and tragic national fracture than many could have imagined. The Yugoslav First League inevitably collapsed, with both Croatian and Slovenian teams leaving to form separate leagues, and both life and football in the Balkans was changed forever. Today, Dinamo and Red Star each have their roles in national memory. In Zagreb, the riot is taught history, and Boban remains a national hero as the image of that kick endures, as do the actions of the Bad Blue Boys on that day. Within Serbia, Delia's members of the 80s and 90s are revered as fearless and patriotic, remaining central to the Red Star identity, and to this day they continue to create some of the most intense atmospheres in world football. So what had started as a routine football derby quickly ignited into a flashpoint in history, serving as a stark reminder of the deep roots that exist between clubs and their communities. It's easy nowadays, with football's global reach and the massive financial interest behind it, to lose sight of what clubs truly represent. At their core, football clubs are born from the passion, struggles and dreams of local communities. They are built by everyday people, fans, players, volunteers and families who invest their hearts and lives into something far bigger than just a game. The ultras, the supporters, the grassroots organisers, these are the people who breathe life into football clubs. They carry the traditions, shape identities and create a shared sense of belonging. Without them, football would be little more than a commercial spectacle. Their chants echo stories of pride, history and resistance, reminding us that every club is a living symbol of the culture and community that created it. In an era dominated by sponsorship deals, global TV rights and billionaire owners, remembering the roots of football, how it grew from neighbourhood streets and local passions, is crucial to truly understanding the beautiful game. Thanks for tuning into this video. If you liked it, please drop a like and subscribe, and check out my other video, Poland's Unbreakable Football Club, to discover another football story that you might not be familiar with. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks.